Murder at Ocean View College. Chapter 31. Capture. Danny was on the floor, struggling with his math teacher, trying to gain control of him and take the gun away. He felt legs kicking him and hands beating on his back. He tried to pin down the older man's hands, but Mr. Taylor was stronger than he looked. Jade watched in agony, trying to think how she could help Danny. She stepped closer and watched every move as the two men struggled. She wanted to help and was looking for an opportunity. She saw Danny grab for the hand holding the gun. He tried to pin that arm down to the floor, but the other hand grabbed Danny by the hair and pulled him up again, away from the gun. Jade moved to the other side of the two men as they rolled around on the floor. Again, Danny grabbed the gun hand and tried to pull the gun away. Jade saw her chance. Danny was breathing hard, but managed to push the hand with the gun flat onto the floor. Jade immediately put her right boot heel on Mr. Taylor's knuckles and stepped down hard. Harvey Taylor let go of the gun and screamed. Jade picked up the gun, stepped back, and pointed the weapon directly at the older man, who was out of breath and still lying on the floor. "It's over, Mr. Taylor. You're under arrest," she said in a steady voice. Danny stood, then reached down, grabbed the math teacher by the front of his shirt, and pulled him into a sitting position. "Stand up," he ordered in a voice full of authority. Harvey Taylor was panting from the struggle. He sat on the floor and refused to stand. "You can't arrest me." He took 2 quick breaths before he continued. "You're not police officers." He took 2 more deep breaths. More quick breaths. "You are probably in more trouble than I am." "I wouldn't bet on that," she said, keeping the gun pointed straight at him. But she took a quick look at Danny's face. He returned the look. She could read his thought. He wanted to know what they were going to do now. Harvey Taylor was right. They couldn't arrest him, at least not as police officers. But they were darn sure not going to just let him go. "Actually," Jade said, "we can arrest you. We are responding to an emergency." Then she directed her words at Danny. "Let's find something to tie him up with." "Good idea," Danny said, and he looked around the room for anything that might work. His eyes stopped on the yellow crime tape on the door. He stepped to the door and tore down several strands of tape. "I know this won't hold for very long, but we won't need it for very long." Danny carried the strips of tape from the door over to where their prisoner was still sitting on the floor, looking angry. Danny grabbed Harvey Taylor's hands and put them behind his back and wound the tape tightly around his wrists. He wasn't going anywhere. "Here, Danny," Jade said, as she handed the gun to him. "I'm going to make a phone call." She used the telephone in Miss Quinn's office and punched in the number for the city police department. She spoke calmly. "My name is Jade Lee, and I am a student police officer at Ocean View College. My partner and I have just subdued a man who was trying to kill us." She answered a few more questions, then hung up. It was all over now, except for the waiting, and she knew that they would have to explain why they were on campus after midnight. The truth, of course, was always best. She didn't want to think how mad Captain Mitchell would be.